Well, hello everyone, and welcome to our monthly LifeWave Connect Product Webinar. I'm Jeff Hildebrant, Global Vice President of Marketing, and I'm deeply grateful to each and every one of you for joining us today. Now, today we get to talk about X39 and glutathione, two of my favorites. And as always, please remember to drop your questions in the Q&A section, and we're going to try to get to as many as possible. Now, without further ado, it's my pleasure to introduce the visionary behind and inventor of LifeWave Technology, our CEO and founder, David Schmidt. David's pioneering spirit and unwavering dedication have been instrumental in shaping LifeWave to the transformative force it is today. David, thank you for joining us. Thank you for your leadership. Exciting stuff happening at LifeWave.
Well, as you say, we're going to be focusing in on X39 and glutathione, and specifically, even though you have snow out there in Utah, this is the time of year that people start to think about losing weight and getting in shape for summer. So I thought we might do something a little bit different than what we would usually talk about on a webinar like this. And we're going to talk about glutathione's role in helping people reduce body fat and shape their body composition. Now, to keep us out of trouble, the first thing is, I am not a medical doctor. I'm not a healthcare practitioner. I'm an inventor and a researcher. So any of the information that we present today is done for your information only. And you should speak to your healthcare practitioner to get guidance for your own particular situation. That would be the first thing. The second thing is, we're going to be looking at a number of studies today. And in these studies, the glutathione, as an example, was administered either as an oral supplement or by an IV injection. So we're not going to be making any direct claims about our glutathione or X39 patches when it comes to a number of the subjects that we're going to cover. The type of claims that we make about our products are that they are general wellness products and they improve overall health and vitality. We know that glutathione is the body's master antioxidant, and one of the things that it's remarkable at doing is assisting detoxification. So that's what we're saying about our patch products. But because glutathione is so important to overall health, and because one of the things that we do talk about quite frequently is that everyone should be on a glutathione oral supplement. So that's one of the reasons this is a little bit of community service. And also in the future, we will carry a supplement that has NAC in it because everyone today should be taking a supplement to help support and elevate glutathione. So Jeff, in that context, then we'll get started.
That sounds very exciting. I can't wait. Thank you.
All right, let's do it then. So the first thing is, since we are going to be talking about ways to reduce body fat and support lean muscle mass, if you haven't exercised in a while and you don't have a proper diet, we would definitely recommend that you seek the help of a healthcare practitioner in guiding you with this. The one thing that you don't want to do if you're overweight is start a diet and exercise routine and go too fast, too soon, and then run into trouble. This is something where you should be seeking the expertise of a healthcare practitioner that can help you out in this regards. That's going to be the first thing. The second thing is, and we will talk about glutathione here specifically, is that all of these things work well when you are on a diet and exercise program, and specifically exercise. I would definitely agree with doctors like Peter Attia, who state that exercise is the most powerful drug that's known, and it outperforms drugs. And of course, we don't refer to it as a drug here. But the power of exercise should not be underestimated. And some of the things that we're going to see in these studies, which is interesting, is that the reason why the glutathione does what it does is because exercise is involved. So I don't want you to think that you can take a pill or get an IV drip of glutathione or copper peptide and expect some of these results. If you're aiming for detoxification, anti-aging, overall health, that's one thing. But if we're looking to change body composition, we have to have a solid program of diet and exercise. So that's really important. So let's dig into this. Oh, the other thing before I start getting into the studies is this webinar is going to take a very interesting turn. And you're going to see some information you may not have seen before. And so I've prepared a few surprises here and there that I think you're going to enjoy. So let's go ahead and get into it. Okay. So the first thing is, let's take a look at this first study, because when we're talking about reshaping body composition, reducing body fat, we have to think about what fuel is going to drive the body. And in this particular case, we're talking about our macros, our fats, our carbohydrates, and our protein. So we're not going to look at a diet where a calorie is a calorie. That's kind of nonsense. We all know that having a healthy diet as opposed to consuming a lot of processed foods is going to yield very different results. So 2,000 calories of organic food is not the same as 2,000 calories of junk snacks. Okay? So that would be the first thing. The second thing is we want to think through the process of exactly why does the body store fat in the first place. We know this is a survival mechanism. Before food was plentiful, we had to have, as human beings, mechanisms to store energy and store it as fat so we would have it when there wasn't any food available. So a simple way to think about this is that when you are not eating, your body is mobilizing growth hormone and other hormones like testosterone. And this allows for the conversion of fat over into energy. Now, conversely, when you start the process of eating, you have to raise your insulin levels, and insulin is going to assist your body in storing body fat. So this is why many people like to use intermittent fasting as a method, as a tool for helping to manage their body composition, because we can extend the period of time with which our body is producing growth hormone and testosterone, and this assists the body in reducing body fat. But let's take a look at what glutathione has to do with all this. And remember, let's look at this through the lens of people engaged in exercise. We're going to find some really interesting things here. Okay, so first, this clinical study, glutathione supplementation suppresses muscle fatigue induced by prolonged exercise via improved aerobic metabolism. So aerobic metabolism, of course, is where we have oxygen and it's converting carbohydrates over into energy. Now, I'll tell you a quick story. Back in and around 2008, I was with Dr. Steve Haltiwanger, and we were down at Army Aeromedical in the United States, and we were meeting with researchers from the United States Army. And they were back then looking to put every active military personnel on a glutathione supplement. And their goal was to do that by 2025. And they were doing it for two reasons. Number one is that at that time, hearing loss was the number one disability in the U.S. military, which is easy to understand. But number two, they began a change in their mindset. And the change was that they were looking at people in the military as being high performance athletes. So research at the military determined that supplementing with glutathione was the best way to improve athletic performance. Now, this is back in and around 2008 or so. So here we have a study from 2015 showing exactly this. Glutathione supplementation suppresses muscle fatigue. Now, we think of glutathione as the body's master antioxidant and that it can control oxidative stress. So when the body is engaged in exercise, it's converting more energy over into fuel, and you end up with metabolic wastes in the form of oxidative chemicals, amongst other things. And so it makes sense that if your glutathione levels are elevated, it can help your body deal with the stress of exercise. But there's a lot more going on here. So look at these results. This was done in mice and then also over in human beings. We look at post-exercise plasma. Fatty acids were significantly lower in the exercise supplemented with glutathione group. So here we're seeing a relationship between exercise, fatty acids, and glutathione. Fatigue-related psychological factors were significantly decreased in the glutathione trial compared with the placebo. So these results suggest that glutathione supplementation improved fat metabolism. So here we have, unexpectedly to many people, a correlation not only between glutathione improving exercise performance, but glutathione as a method for supporting fat burning. I think that would come as a surprise to many people. Now, bear in mind, this is, again, in the presence of exercise, not that you're going to take a glutathione pill and get a reduction in body fat. But this is a great way to look at a method for not only supporting your overall health, but reshaping body composition. So let's see what other studies are out there that may support those conclusions. So we're going to go to this study from 2018, the effects of supplementation with glutathione on athlete performance. And here we can see there are many scientific reports showing a key role of glutathione in the treatment of many diseases. Furthermore, the authors demonstrated improvement in sports performance by supplementation with glutathione, and also, interestingly, its precursors. Now, I'd recommend that you take a look at this study because it's a really nice summary of some of the different ways that you can elevate glutathione and support glutathione levels in the body. Many times on these webinars, I will recommend NAC, N-acetylcysteine, as a method for elevating glutathione, but there's other methods. We can see here, glutathione is a tripeptide composed of glutamate or glutamic acid, cysteine, and glycine. And we're going to take a look at the chemistry of how glutathione assembles, actually, because that's going to be important relative to its role in controlling fats in the body. But this is a nice article showing some of the relationships between glutathione and sports performance, and as I mentioned, a number of ways to elevate glutathione. Another thing here that I wanted to point out, when we're talking about exercise and specifically resistance training, one of the benefits of resistance training is that it increases the number of mitochondria in the muscles. And this is important because the mitochondria of course, is the powerhouse of the cell. So when you're placing demands on your muscle through resistance training, could be body weight exercise, weightlifting, yoga, these types of things. One of the ways the body responds to that is by increasing the number of mitochondria. So you increase the capacity of the muscle to do work. And as many of you know from these webinars, there is an intimate connection between the health of the mitochondria and the way that you age. So here, interestingly, the observed upregulation of factors involved in mitochondria biogenesis was rather unexpected. And this is relative to antioxidants such as glutathione. So in other words, glutathione plays a role in helping to create new mitochondria. And this article also goes on to say, citing another study on mice that received glutathione, at this time by injection, and it increased the swimming endurance. Look at this, an amazing 140%. That was on 1,000 milligrams per kilogram, which is a lot. But the point here is that this showed a dramatic improvement in exercise performance using glutathione. So this is a very nice study to take a look at. Also, I think two things that are worth mentioning here. One of the precursors to glutathione is the amino acid glycine. And there was a recent animal study showing that if you supplemented with glycine and NAC, and of course we know glycine is not only a precursor to glutathione, but a precursor to copper peptide, that this could increase lifespan in mammals by 24%. We know that carnosine in mice and rats increases lifespan 30 to 40%. And that's through a different pathway and different mechanism. So these are very, very exciting findings for improving overall health and wellness and sports performance and helping us stay younger longer. Another important antioxidant here that helps to preserve glutathione levels is alpha-lipoic acid. And one thing I would mention about that's important is that as we talk about glutathione's ability to help us mobilize fats for energy and reshape the body, glutathione also has the ability to help balance blood sugar levels. I'm going to get to that in a minute. Alpha-lipoic acid is amazing in this regard. So for those of you that have hypoglycemia, you have high blood sugar levels, you could be a type 1 or type 2 diabetic, strongly recommend that you speak with your doctor about taking alpha-lipoic acid, let's say 300 milligrams 3 or 4 times per day. This has been shown in studies with type 1 diabetics to reduce the need for insulin by up to 60%. So this is life-changing information. Okay, let's go on here a little bit. Now, as we talk about this, here's another study that shows glutathione supports lipid abundance. Well, that doesn't sound very good. To start, why do we want to have an abundance of lipids? Well, one thing to know is that a source of energy in the body is triglycerides. Now, we often think of triglycerides as being a bad thing, but triglycerides are, in fact, a source of energy. So one way to think about this is that we can run our body principally off of fats or carbohydrates. It would be much rather preferred to run our body off of fat. And people that are on ketogenic diets are well aware of the reasons for this. Those individuals that are on high protein diets moderate fat, low carbohydrate also understand these benefits. But when your body is producing energy, whether or not it be from fat or carbohydrates, we need a way to control the metabolites of that energy production. And in this case, it would be oxidative chemicals. So we breathe in air, and our cells take that air and use it to make energy in the cell. And these oxidative chemicals come out. It's like going out the exhaust of a car, and then we have to get them out of the body. So unless we have a way to protect our cells from this metabolic waste, the metabolic waste damages healthy tissue. So in this case, it's glutathione. So we want to have healthy glutathione levels. So the results here, it's interesting. It's showing also why glutathione is found in high abundance in the liver and the relationship between glutathione and NRF2. So NRF2, when activated, will help to elevate glutathione and SOD levels. And NRF2 activators are things like broccoli, right? So you can, broccoli would be a good way to help to support glutathione levels in the body. But in any case, if you scroll down and look at some of these figures, you'll find some very interesting information, as glutathione is required for the survival of adult animals, including human beings. So this should underscore how important glutathione is. If we didn't have glutathione, we couldn't survive. Okay, let's go on to some more fun stuff here. Now, let's take a look at glutathione chemistry. And we're going to come back to this. This isn't a chemistry lesson. We just want to look at something interesting here that will help the way you think about how glutathione is made in the body and how you can benefit from it. But I want to point out this one thing they may not have ever heard of before. Many of you have heard of apoptosis, well, indicating a cell death. But here's something called ferroptosis. And I've got right here an article on the link between ferroptosis and disease. Now, interestingly enough, this process is being looked at as a method for killing off cancer cells. It's generally not a good thing. Now, if we let the iron levels in our body get too high, the iron can cause oxidative stress. So this is one of the dangers for men in having a diet that would be high in red meat or liver. Men particularly run the risk of getting their iron levels too high and having this cause oxidative stress, and this could lead to disorders like Alzheimer's disease or Parkinson's disease. There are natural methods of chelating iron and reducing them. Zinc, as a matter of fact, as a mineral which is important for health, is a way of supplementing that can help reduce iron levels. So speak with your doctor about this. Have blood tests done to determine if you're at risk for this, and it'd be something that would be easy to protect yourself. But in any case, what's important about this is that excessively high levels of iron can lead to unwanted effects in the body. Okay, so what does that have to do with glutathione? Well, we see here the pathway for how glutathione is made. And these PUFAs here are polyunsaturated fatty acids. Now, we want to have an abundance of monounsaturated fatty acids in our diet, such as olive oil. I once had the opportunity to meet with a medical doctor in Italy, and the medical doctor stated that he believed, after studying this, that all of the benefits, or most of the benefits from the Mediterranean diet, were exclusively from it being rich in monounsaturated fatty acids, and he attributed this to olive oil. And olive oil has many other benefits. In a typical American diet, we're getting too many polyunsaturated fatty acids. These are coming from seed oils. And we can see what happens here. These polyunsaturated fatty acids, they're going to interact with iron, and this is what can create cell death in our bodies. And we can see that glutathione is a mediator to help suppress this biochemical stress. Now, we mentioned that in order to make glutathione, you have to have these 3 amino acids. So glutamate or glutamic acid, the amino acid cysteine, which is generally found in dairy products. You could find it in whey protein, eggs. We mentioned broccoli a little bit earlier, some vegetables, but mostly meat and dairy. And then glycine. Now, what's interesting here is that some people, this is an enzymatic process, and you end up with something called gamma-glutamyl cysteine. And there's one company, if you're an individual that has a problem making glutathione, there's one company that manufactures a gamma-glutamyl cysteine product. And most people can, with the addition of glycine, can convert this directly over into glutathione. So if you're somebody where a doctor has said, you have chronically low levels of glutathione, you've tried glutathione supplements, maybe the glutathione patch, and you don't see your glutathione levels going up, you could try gamma-glutamyl cysteine as a precursor to support your body's levels of glutathione. Here's a study over here. We talk about the dangers of ferroptosis, the emerging roles of this in vascular cognitive impairment, Alzheimer's. Okay. Now we're going to get to we're going to look at this from the other side. So we can see that if you have a lifestyle of exercise, you want to keep your glutathione levels elevated because it's going to support overall sports performance. Surprisingly, one of the references I didn't show in those other studies is that glutathione, like carnosine, can buffer lactate levels in the blood, meaning glutathione has the ability to help prevent your body from going into a state of acidosis. It helps balance out the pH. That's a surprising benefit of glutathione. And it's something we often, in athletics, it's something we attribute to beta-alanine and carnosine. So we've talked about how glutathione interacts with body fat, with fatty acids, lipid metabolism for reshaping the body. What about blood sugar? So many people today, in addition to wanting to get rid of that extra body fat, they have a problem. They're on a diet rich in carbohydrates, and maybe they're pre-diabetic and have high blood sugar levels. Is there anything that a glutathione supplement could do to address this? And the answer, delightfully, is yes. So here's a study showing glutathione metabolism in type 2 diabetes, and also a group that has microvascular complications. So in other words, when your blood sugar levels are elevated, they can end up damaging nerves. And this can be a precursor to a number of diseases like diabetes, peripheral neuropathy, and Parkinson's disease. And we see that glutathione is neuroprotective. So in other words, if you have a diet rich in carbohydrates, you have low glutathione levels, you run the risk of getting diabetes. And when that happens, the high blood sugar levels damage the peripheral nerves and impair circulation. So this can lead to neuropathy, diabetic neuropathy, and that is very, very dangerous. So we don't want anyone to get that. But we scroll down here and we look at the results. And one of the things that we're going to find is that glutathione, compared to non-diabetic controls, patients with type 2 diabetes have glutathione deficiency. Not surprising, especially if they have microvascular complications. So this is a little bit of a question of chicken and egg, which comes first here. But what we can say for sure is because glutathione is neuroprotective, that if the glutathione levels go down, this causes damage to the nerve, which causes problems with circulation, and then later peripheral neuropathy. So what this means is that we've got a method now through glutathione supplementation of helping to manage blood sugar. That's a very, very important outcome from this study. Okay. Now, what could we do to optimize this effect when we look at blood sugar? And interestingly enough, we see a relationship between glutathione, vitamin E, and magnesium. So these data show a clinical link between vitamin E administration, magnesium, the ratio between glutathione and oxidized glutathione, and glucose metabolism. So these are really things that medical doctors should be trained in, which they're not, unless you have a medical doctor that's a clinical nutritionist, because this is an incredibly simple, cost-effective intervention for people that are at risk for developing diabetes. Imagine you can get over-the-counter a glutathione supplement, magnesium, vitamin E, and it's going to have a whole host of benefits, including managing blood sugar. Now, we started talking about body composition, and the reason why we're interested in this is that if you can control your blood sugar levels, you're going to reduce your levels of body fat. So there's been studies done on alpha lipoic acid as one example, where people given alpha lipoic acid, it bypasses the insulin spike, and these people lose weight by taking this supplement. And it's not technically a fat burner. It's how it's helping the body to manage blood sugar. So we would put glutathione in this category. So if this is something that you're struggling with and you're interested in, here's a way to optimize the effect through supplementation of vitamin E and also magnesium. Now, magnesium is something that everyone should be taking anyway, because it's involved in so many different systems in the body. So let's say what a doctor might typically recommend is 400 milligrams of magnesium daily, maybe 200 milligrams twice a day. I prefer magnesium glycinate. That's magnesium that's bound to glycine, since you want to get glycine into your body. Magnesium citrate is a common form. Magnesium taurate is an excellent form of magnesium. Okay. Now here, but we would take a look at this. Now, this is not a clinical study. This is just an article. And what you will find is that there are many clinics today that will give an IV of glutathione as part of an overall health and weight loss program. So when you're going to go to a doctor, you're going to go to a clinic and get an IV of glutathione. This can help with detoxification. And again, I'd say if you are exercising, then great. This is elevating your glutathione levels. Keeping in mind that when you get an IV, the glutathione goes in and out in your body in about an hour or so. Half-life of glutathione is about 7 minutes. So glutathione IVs are wonderful for detoxification. But you want to elevate your glutathione levels, you have to look at some other methods. So again, for the purpose of claims, we'll just talk about glutathione supplementation. So this article is a nice article showing about how some doctors feel about using glutathione as a weight loss tool. And what I would tell you is glutathione supports exercise performance, and supporting exercise performance is going to support reduction in body fat and building lean muscle. That's probably a good way to think about it. Here's also a study that I wanted to point to on this, because our company, of course, is so focused on anti-aging and eventually age reversal. We should remember that in the big picture, how long we live is directly associated with our body's levels of glutathione. So there's this intimate connection between glutathione and aging. So this means that in the short term, keeping your glutathione levels elevated is going to help your body manage body fat, support energy production, support athletic performance, and doing that daily in the big picture means that you can stay younger and healthier longer. So in the big picture, that's what we would think about. Now, we're going to cover one more thing now, and it is off topic, but in preparing for this webinar today, I wanted to bring this back up. And this is something that I covered on a webinar a few years ago, and it was during the pandemic. Now, we're out of the pandemic. COVID is still around, and the good Lord only knows what we're in store for in the future. But I thought I would bring this back up, and it's a reminder. It's a reminder that when everyone on the news was telling us the only way out of the pandemic was through vaccines, there were good studies that were coming out showing how things like glutathione and vitamin D, amongst many other things, could be used as effective natural treatments in preventing some of the serious side effects of COVID-19. So this is how important glutathione is to our overall health. So I would encourage all of you to take a glutathione supplement daily. COVID is still around, and now it's something that we have to live with. And if nothing else, use it to protect yourself from future pandemics. So, Jeff, with that, I'm going to take a sip of water, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic information, and just so relevant, as you mentioned, at this time of the year. We're going into summer. A lot of people are focused on, burning fat and weight loss. So incredible information. And glutathione is one of my favorite products. And I've been taking NAC since you talked about it, a year ago on a webinar. So it's a fantastic supplement. So that leads us to one of our first questions, and I know you've talked about this a little bit, but just for extra clarity, the question did come in. Is it necessary to use NAC while wearing the glutathione patch?
So that depends on a person's diet. So what I would say is we recommend that people take NAC to ensure that they're getting enough cysteine in their diet to make glutathione. It's not required. So if someone has a diet that's rich in eggs and whey protein, they're taking vegetables that help to promote glutathione levels, then it may not be necessary. But I would say that if someone wanted to be, because glutathione is so important to a person's overall health and NAC is relatively inexpensive, I would say that it would be like insurance. One of the things that our patch will do that a supplement won't is that the patch will elevate glutathione levels very, very rapidly and then keep them elevated, and supplements don't do that. So yeah, I would say I would certainly recommend that people do it, but it may not be necessary.
Very good. Are there certain foods that would help to boost glutathione levels in the body, or that would help with that?
Yeah, there's certain foods and there's also certain herbs. So milk thistle has a extract known as silymarin, and this is well known to detoxify the liver and support the body's levels of glutathione. Asparagus. Many people will say, well, when you take asparagus, your urine will smell funny. And this is because it contains sulfur and it helps elevate glutathione, and asparagus is wonderful at detoxifying the liver. But other than that, some of the key sources would be things like eggs and whey protein, desiccated liver.
Very good. And then there are several questions around the usage of patches. So let me just hit on a couple, and maybe you can answer them kind of in a combined. So, how often should you wear a glutathione patch? Does wearing more than one glutathione patch have any additional effects? And where is the best placement?
So one of the things that we found in our studies with X39 is that it helps to preserve the body's levels of glutathione. And as I recall from the data, it was maybe about a 30 to 40% increase in glutathione levels, which is great. So when someone is using X39, you can place it behind the neck, below the belly button. You're going to preserve your body's levels of glutathione. Now, the glutathione patch, on the other hand, when we started doing these studies, we found that it was increasing glutathione levels by an enormous amount. In many cases, on average, in one of the studies in particular, it was about a 300% increase as an average.
Okay.
So that would lead to a very, very rapid detoxification. Now, in those studies, people were simply applying the glutathione patch below the belly button. It was not needed to be placed at a specific point. However, what we also found, as with many of our patches, is that when people had pain, for example, on their knees, they could place a glutathione patch at the point of pain, and elevating glutathione is going to reduce oxidative stress, and that can help to manage pain. So we did find in practical experience that people could put the glutathione patch at the point of pain, and that would help to manage the pain. Other than that, just the patch below the belly button was fine.
Very good. Now, I know we've talked about in the studies early on in the call, we talked about the fat reducing ability of glutathione, specifically the body composition and things. In recommendation of glutathione versus SP6, is there a different mechanism there, or is there a difference, a recommendation there? This one's trying to lose weight.
Yeah, they're completely different in the sense that SP6 was designed to help people manage cravings and manage blood sugar. So it's a very different mechanism than glutathione. I would say, when we talk about this subject of reshaping the body, it's so critically important that people look at every single tool that they have for this. And foundationally, that absolutely should start with exercise, proper diet, and also getting proper rest and drinking lots of water. If that foundation is not there, then any type of supplement is just really not going to get the job done, with very, very few exceptions. Yeah, I mean, if we went back 20 years ago, before it was banned, there were ephedra products on the market that would legitimately induce thermogenesis and reduce body fat without exercise, but those products have since been taken off the market.
Yeah.
But in any case, we still want to promote exercise and healthy eating, making proper lifestyle choices as the correct path to take for overall long-term health. You know, the other thing is that we can't get around is that through exercise, we're going to improve the health of the cardiovascular system, reduce our risk of stroke, reduce our risk of heart disease, and those are some of the other benefits that come from that. So I would say once people have that foundation, then using products like the glutathione patch is going to help support the overall results. Of course, we also have studies on X39 and X49 for improving results, and that's a good way to think about these products as exercise aids.
I love that. And, you know, in all of our LifeWave Connects throughout the past couple of years, it seems like that's a recurring theme is, you know, build a solid foundation, good diet, good exercise, do the right things. And that's really the foundation you want to sit on.
Absolutely.
So, David, does the body know when to shut off making glutathione? In other words, can you stimulate too much production?
So the body has positive and negative feedback loops to balance everything. So, for example, let's use another antioxidant, melatonin. And if our bodies were producing melatonin all the time, we'd be sleepy all the time. And in fact, there's some evidence that our bodies do in fact produce melatonin all the time, but just in very, very low levels because of its role as an antioxidant. But very, very clearly, for people that are on, you know, a typical schedule where they work during the day and they go to sleep at night, the melatonin levels are going to start to rise once the lights turn off and we lay down to go to sleep. So that's a natural cycle. And when we wake up in the morning, now our melatonin levels shut down. We find this with testosterone. So testosterone levels are going to be at their highest in the morning. And this is why men get what's called morning wood. And we know that the testosterone levels are going to decline after that. It's also why many men like to go to the gym between 4 and 6 a.m. because their testosterone levels are very high then. So the body has these cycles. Now, glutathione is a little bit different because we need to be making glutathione all the time. But there are these positive and negative feedback loops. So when we age and our mitochondrial function declines and we can't make as much energy, that compromises our body's ability to make glutathione. And of course, now if we continue on and we eat too much, this is going to place stress on our metabolism, and it's going to lead to our cells being damaged. So the relationship essentially in the electron transport chain in the mitochondria is between, let's say, glutathione and oxidative chemicals, glutathione and nitric oxide. So those two play a role where they balance one another out through these feedback loops. So when glutathione levels get high enough in the cell relative to the cell's need for survival, production of glutathione gets turned off until more glutathione is needed. And this happens very quickly.
No, very nice. So there's a question here. I've read that one of the causes of weight gain, especially in the midsection, is cortisol production, often from extended stress. Does glutathione help with this? And what are some other things that people can do to lower cortisol?
So we had done a study on the Eon patch and had shown that Eon helps to calm the nervous system, which helps to balance out cortisol. So, one way to think about this is that everything naturally occurring in the body has a purpose. So we often tend to think about certain biochemicals as being good or bad. We think about oxidative chemicals maybe, as being bad. And it's really not that. They're there to serve a purpose. So when someone has an infection, you want to have elevated levels of oxidative stress. It's how your body's going to kill off that infection, whether or not it be a viral infection, bacterial, cancer. When someone has cancer, they can go for ozone treatment or treatment with hydrogen peroxide. And these natural oxidative chemicals are going to kill cancer cells. So now our body's antioxidant system is going to help to balance that out and prevent the ozone or the hydrogen peroxide from damaging healthy cells. But we can use these things in quite constructive ways. So when we think of cortisol, it is a mechanism by which our body deals with stress. Our adrenal glands are meant to support us during times of stress. But if the stress is chronic, if the stress is acute, if it's temporary, then our bodies handle it just fine. But if the stress is consistent, if it's chronic, that's where most people have the problem. So a good way to think about this is to be in relationships that are loving and caring, have a network of people around you that love you and support you, engage in activities like exercise to help manage physical stress, and so forth. And the Eon patch certainly is a way of helping the body cope with stress. Glutathione patch will help the body deal with chemical stressors.
Hey, very good. I think we did a whole webinar on this next one, and so maybe 5 minutes isn't enough to answer it, but there's a question in relation to glutathione and skin health.
Oh, wow. Okay. So yes, there was, we did a study back, maybe it was around 2006, 2008. And actually, Jim Caldwell he's our VP of Special Projects. He was around at that time. And I think the way that I'll say this is we were looking at a product that was in the form of a spray. And I'll say we had a method for elevating glutathione. And what we found was that this would dramatically reduce acne. Now, we went to a law firm that specializes in nutritional marketing, and they said you could never make this claim because acne is a medical condition, and you'd have to go to the FDA and tell them, well, you've got a glutathione spray, and FDA would want you to register that as a drug. So that was something we never did anything with. But we showed that after 3 weeks, acne would go down by 86%. So we definitely saw the power of glutathione in that project. Now, there are many antioxidants that are going to improve the health of the skin, glutathione being one of them. Carnosine is another. Carnosine is known as the most powerful anti-glycation nutrient, meaning that when people have high blood sugar levels, the skin can experience cross-linking. And this leads to skin that is aging. And so by keeping glutathione and carnosine levels elevated, it helps to protect the skin from damage.
Mm, very good. All right, maybe one more question here, which is, you talk a little bit about how often someone should be using the glutathione patch. Is there too many days a week, or is there a certain amount that's the right amount?
Yeah, I would say that would definitely be up to the individual. When we do these studies, we've had studies where people have used the glutathione patch 5 days a week. And then in that same study, we had people using glutathione patch 7 days a week. And not surprisingly, the people that used the glutathione patch daily got better results. So here's a way to think about this is if we went back 100 years, the glutathione patch might not even be necessary. But today, 100% of the population has foreign chemicals in their body. Foreign chemicals that are in the air, the water, of course, the food that we eat. We have to be in a constant state of supporting our detox pathways. So it's making glutathione supplementation necessary today on a daily basis. And I don't think that situation is going to get better anytime soon. I would encourage our community, if they haven't done so already, is to take a look at the product Appeal, which is getting sprayed on fruits and vegetables here in the United States. Our friend Bill Gates is behind that, and they tell us it's safe. Although the problem is these products are designed to preserve fruits and vegetables, but studies show that fruits and vegetables expire for a reason. Their nutrients begin to decline after they're picked off of the vine or off the tree. So if you extend the time that it takes for them to degrade, you're simply eating fruits and vegetables that have lower nutritional value, not to mention the fact of, what is in this stuff. So this is just all to say that we're under constant chemical assault. It's only getting worse. And I would strongly recommend that people supplement with glutathione and have a lifestyle to support protecting their cells and detoxification.
I love it. Well, it always happens, but it seems like we never have quite enough time to answer all the questions. So we try to get through as many as we can. But David, we're out of time. So before we close out here, is there anything else you would like to share with the community here?
I would first like to thank everyone for the amazing March that we had, biggest month in the history of the company. I want to thank everyone for getting us to the point of being the #1 company in the industry for growth these past 4 years. That would not have happened without an amazing community of leaders, an amazing community of brand partners. And I know, Jeff, you and I and the rest of the corporate team are just so very grateful that we're in this position. It's really amazing. And I feel very blessed that we are where we are. So my heartfelt thank you to our community.
Very good. All right. Well, thank you so much, David, for sharing with us your knowledge and your expertise. We're grateful for you, and thank you for joining us today. We will see you next month.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.